Oh, this is a big one though. This is like a really important day for me. This is like, I mean, okay, Jonathan Davies. I mean, you're sort of a god to the Welsh, I think, in many ways. You know, it's not just your sort of rugby career, but it's what you provide in terms of Welsh culture. But for Americans listening who maybe don't know your impact on my culture and our people and the game of rugby, and I mean not just rugby, like sports entertainment in general and other people, how would you describe your career to someone who maybe is a bit of a novice? They don't know rugby out here that well.
I think it's very difficult to I suppose talk about yourself in your career, how you think it's gone. But I think if you grow up in America and how important maybe American football is, and baseball and basketball and ice hockey, whatever sport you follow, like rugby is, there's rugby and soccer, football or soccer as they say in America, in Wales and in the United Kingdom. So I suppose growing up in that environment and playing for my village and playing for your country, and then I suppose it's like going from, I'm trying to work it out now. I suppose and then I went to, when I represented my country in rugby union, I then left and went to play professional rugby league, which is kind of not the thing to do at a particular time. But it's just, yeah, you know, I think you grow up wanting to play for your country in any particular sport or whatever sport you're in. And then once you achieve that, you know, it's just trying to create memories for yourself and memories for other people, I suppose, who haven't been fortunate to play at international arenas and represent your country. So I've been also, once I finished, went into television. I'm still working with the BBC. I work for the BBC now, commentating for 20 odd years. So it's weird that once they see you play and people remember you from your playing, but television is such a powerful tool and you don't really understand it until you've worked in it. Then when people recognize you way after you finished playing, so, and they recognize my voice because I got a distinct Welsh accent. But it's, yeah, you know, you don't go out, you know, I think you go out and you don't expect to achieve what you've achieved, and then you just look back and you go, look, you know, it was really, really nice that you created memories of people and that people remember you, and you gave them enjoyment. So it's that's part of, I suppose, a sporting culture, but the same part of the culture of Wales, because, yeah, I suppose when people look at Wales, they look at kind of tourism and rugby and maybe coal mining and the steel industry, and a lot of that has gone now. But yeah, I suppose it's nice that people remember you for anything, let alone, you know, your sporting career. So it's, and I always remember. I was on holiday in Fort Lauderdale once, and some Welsh guy introduced me, and they were to his American friends, and he went, "Oh, this is like what can I explain now?" He said, Dan Marino. This is like the Dan Marino of rugby in Wales. And I was a massive fan of American football at the time. So I knew Dan Marino was, and I was kind of very, very humbled, you know, to be, you know, kind of compared to the great Dan Marino.
Yeah, well, that's sort of how I've described you. I live in North Carolina now. I'm from Swansea originally, but but my friends out here, they were sort of asking me what I'm doing this week, and I was just like, you know, having one of these like sort of like panic attacks, because, you know, I grew up watching you as a commentator, because I just turned 28, and so I remember my first ever rugby match. I was actually in South Africa, and I think it was Wales v Italy. I can't remember what year it was. My dad will tell me as soon as this episode comes out, and he'll be like, well, here's all the information that you got wrong. But I remember it distinctly, because that was my introduction to rugby, and I just sort of fell in love with it ever since. I mean, it is such a huge part of our culture. It's a huge part of our identity. Like, I mean, I was in my first year of university the year that we beat, was it England 33-3?
Yeah,
Was
that's
that the
right.
one in the Six Nations? That was probably one of the best days of my life.
Yes.
Hands
Oh,
down.
great days in Cardiff over the last kind of decade. You know, we've done particularly well. So, and it is, and what I think it is because it's such a small country. America's so vast. You know, you look at our country; it's only 3 million people, I think. So it is important. You know, and I look at New Zealand, Australia. You know, they're countries that are isolated, and we're kind of part of the kingdom. But yeah, I think we promote our sport, our country through our sport sometimes, and it's you know, it is nice and it's important that you know, we remember the heritage and the great players that have played before us, and we leave a legacy for the players who are going to come after us. And I think even as, you know, little kids starting off as under fives, under sixes, you know, their goal is to represent their country, which is I always remember back thinking, God, you know, such a long time ago now. But yeah, I never imagined coming from a small little town in Llanelli in West Wales, you know, that I was capable of achieving, you know, playing for my country. So it's nice. It is nice, and I have fond memories. I'm glad that people enjoyed watching me play.
Well, I mean, as one of them, I can say definitely. But I think Tom Brady is who I've been sort of comparing you to. You are the Tom, like this is like me interviewing Tom Brady if I was American, that kind of thing. But you say like from Llanelli beat the All Blacks. I think we all, like everyone sort of knows that. But I mean, you wanted to be a rugby player from, it sounds like, day zero, really. Was that always the case?
I think when you're born into, it all depends where you're born, I suppose. If you're born in Wales or in West Wales, it's very difficult, I think, to make it as a soccer player because out from up north, you know, Manchester, Liverpool, and Leeds, and Newcastle, and all these maybe don't come down as frequent as, you know, as maybe the rugby scouts. So so it's football or rugby, and Swansea's a big city, the soccer players as well as Cardiff. So it's either rugby or football, but you know, soccer. But I kind of remember because I played all sports as a kid. You know, I loved all sports, and so I tried my hand at everything. And but I think once a school teacher came to my school when I was about 8, and then he started kind of doing organised matches, and then you just get into it. Then you enjoy it, and you compare yourself. And my dad played. You know, my village was mainly the rugby club was the centre of the community. So, and also I think when I was 12, my father was diagnosed with cancer. So I think the importance of the community then really hit home to us because my mum had to go to Cambridge, which was an 8-hour drive away then, to stay with my dad because that's where he was being treated. And you know, I wouldn't see my mum and dad, you know, for months on end, and whether you see a dad alive again. But the important thing for me then was the village and the support that they gave us. And every home game, you know, there was a raffle, and they gave the money of the raffle to my mum. So I kind of had an instant connection and a loyalty to my village. That if I didn't progress in the world of sport, that I would always play for my village. But fortunate enough, you know, I played with them, I trained with them, and I was spotted, and I went on to play, you know, with other first class sides.
Wow. I mean, that's I didn't know that. That's an incredibly moving story. And I think that speaks to, again, Welsh culture and our culture of community. You know, we all sort of live on top of each other, and you know, it has its downsides. You know, we're all terrible gossips. I think we all are. But I think at the same
times.
Yeah.
But times, you know, unlike the Americans. But no, it is unfortunately, like my dad passed away 2 years later, but you know, it sunk in with me though how important it was and how supportive from my mum, how difficult it was for my mum. And my mum, in fact, I went to see my mum this morning because as I was coming to work, and you know, she's still living in Smythe where I was born, about 100 yards from the schoolyard that I played football and soccer and rugby on. So it was I played for the village until I was 18, 19. My dad played for the village before me, and I still there to watch a game when they played against Llanelli when I go there now, they all tell me, "Oh, you weren't as good as your dad. You weren't as good as your dad." But you don't mind that, they don't mind it.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh, and you just moved closer back, I guess, then towards Llanelli, because you were in Cardiff, obviously, for many years. I think we talked about.
Yeah, it was odd because when I left, I always say this story. When I left from Sarah in 1980, and if you wanted to know what it was like back then, just go there tomorrow. So I went, but I went to rugby league. So I moved from West Wales, and then I went to live near Manchester and Liverpool when I went to rugby league. Then I had 2 years in Australia. I had a year in Sydney and a year in Townsville playing rugby league in Australia. And then I came back into Cardiff for 20 years. I lived in Cardiff for 20 odd years. Two of my kids were born. Well, one of my kids was born in Carmarthen, two of them in Warrington, one of them in Cardiff, Llantrisant, and then the other one was born in Swansea. So it's kind of, now that I've come back from Cardiff to Swansea, and I'm living in a beautiful part of the world called Langland, near this. So it's it's gone a full circle really. And although I've travelled the world, I still want to go and travel a bit more. And so I haven't spent a lot of time in America, and I know that rugby's getting a little bit bigger and better and professional in America now, where they've got an American league. So that would be, I'd be interested in maybe coming to see that, or if there's any American club wanting a technical advisor or a consultant on a short-term basis, because my wife always says that North Carolina and San Diego is the most beautiful place she's been. So I think I'll have to visit someday, and I am definitely going to do more traveling.
Well, I can't recommend North Carolina enough. I was living in California for the last 6 years. Wouldn't recommend it now. It's got a little bit downhill, but it's still aesthetically beautiful. And yeah, you're right. I think rugby is becoming more of a respected sport out here. Like, I remember back in 2005, my dad and I were walking through this farmers market in San Luis Obispo, which is in sort of the central coast of California. And we bumped into a group of people who were sort of trying to start a league in San Luis Obispo, I think in the university actually. And the one thing that the coach said to my dad was, they couldn't find players. Usually the people who came to play rugby were the people who couldn't quite make it in American football. But the thing is, if you can't make it in American football, you're never going to make it in rugby, because rugby demands a far higher stamina set, because you're just continuously playing instead of stop, start. But this changed a bit.
But I think also the biggest difference was, if you play a sport all your life, it's very difficult to change it when you're at a certain age, I suppose. And also, if you don't make it professionally, you think, what's the point of playing that particular sport sometimes? And especially when rugby union was an amateur sport, the American guys couldn't get their heads around it. Why would I play that sport, which is new to me? But now it's professional, and you need a different skill set. You're getting paid for it. A lot of the American footballers have the right skill set, maybe not for American football, and they're more suited to rugby. So I think that on the back of 7-a-side in the Olympics, and now the Americans are doing the Olympics, and a few of the American footballers have started to play for the American 7-a-side. I think you always need kind of some heroes or brilliant players to attract kids. That's what it's all about, attracting kids to the sports. And I think now it's an amazing opportunity, to grow the game, in America, definitely.
Yeah, well, this is coming from, a real hero. When I was growing up, I guess the main player would have been Shane Williams, obviously. And then, now, every single one of the guys, Alan Wynne-Jones, I'm a little bit biased. Alan Wynne once showed up at one of my dad's gigs in Swansea. My dad plays in a band, just like a covers band. It's really fun. I'm not actually, I don't know what they're called these days because of like COVID and everything. This was about more than that. It was probably about 8 years ago, maybe. Gosh, again, I'll get a bollocking from my parents. I've probably got some of this information wrong.
You should as well, not remember the name.
I know. I'm terrible. It's very early in the morning here. Leave me alone. But no, my dad's band were playing at the Uplands Tavern in the Uplands, like near Sketty. And Anna and Jones walked in, and I think the whole room was just like, oh, kind of thing. You know, again, it's like it would be like Tom Brady walking into, you know, a local bar here. And it was, you know, it was an epic night. I was with my boyfriend at the time, who's about, oh God, maybe like 5'6". So we got a funny picture of those two together.
That's what it's like. It was such a small community. You know, I bump into Alan very often, just having breakfast in West Cross in Rag and Bone, you know. And then so we'll just bump into him in a pub. He's had his OBE today from in Buckingham Palace. Alan has.
Oh my gosh!
I just saw it now on Instagram. So, but yeah, that's what it's like. And again, you know, we go with little pubs everywhere. We go and watch like bands everywhere, don't we? My next door neighbour's got a band called the Commitments, and he plays locally, so we go and watch him as well. So,
oh gosh, we probably know a lot of the same people then. God, what is my dad's band's called? I'm gonna have to bleep that out, but I know they were called That Band maybe for a while. Oh gosh, I'm such a terrible daughter. Oh. I'm the worst. Sorry, Dad. I do love you. Hugh Smythe, he's a brilliant bassist, brilliant singer, brilliant musician all round, but he's the last person who will ever admit it. But yeah. I know that's another thing about the Welsh, right? Humble. And I think, well, I mean, you know, when you've got rugby stars showing up at, you know, the local like breakfast spot, again, that's Welsh culture. It always comes back to that kind of community.
Yeah. It is.
I think. But what's happening with Wales right now? Because I know we played New Zealand the other day, but it's just like, where is everyone? What are the rules? Are there new restrictions with COVID? Like, what's going on? Give me the rundown.
COVID is, well, there's 74,000 people in the stadium, so there's a few restrictions like your COVID pass, you know, having been double jabbed or LFT. So there are, you know, those restrictions still going on. And it's still a little bit weird, you know. It's not as vibrant as it used to be at the moment. Maybe that's the weather again. The weather's been dreadful the last couple of games, but it's getting there slowly. Unfortunately, we've lost the last two games against, you know, two world giants, New Zealand and Australia and South Africa. New Zealand beat us comfortably. South Africa, we could have won that game, but at the moment, we are struggling with strength and depth for cover. And if we don't, because of the numbers that we have, if we get a lot of injuries, we do struggle a little bit. I'm not sure that's going very rugby political here. I'm not sure we're developing as many naturally instinctive players as we should. And that's where we used to be, you know, so much maybe better than England and South Africa in particular. In instinctive rugby, as you mentioned, Shane Williams. So, and I think we're just maybe a little bit too structured in our academies where, you know, you've got to have 6 meals a day, you've got to be a certain size, you've got to be bench pressing a particular weight, and they forget the natural instinctive rugby players, which you need to break down the game. So I think we will struggle, not do as well as we have done in previous years, because I think we've overachieved. So it's going to be very, very difficult. But as you know, the support will always be there, and you know, the expectations will be there. But that's what you get when you play at international level. The expectation is always there to perform and win games. So it's a very interesting period at the moment. And with television as well, you know, I understand you need income from television, but also you need a platform, you know, to promote the game on terrestrial television. And that, I'm not sure if they've got that balance right at the moment during this autumn series. It'll be interesting to see how it's perceived after the autumn. And then obviously the Six Nations comes in March. where the old rivalry kind of begins again. But it's not as lucky as you over there. It's raining at the moment, about 10 degrees. It's miserable, but the autumn goes quickly because of the November games, and then Six Nations starts in February, so that will shorten this winter as well, and we go back to some sunshine and some light. Lovely.
Oh, I mean, the Six Nations is always, I think for Wales, it's our kind of time of the year, really. I think it's something that everyone looks forward to. It's, again, a time when the whole community comes together. For my American listeners, the rivalry that Jonathan just described. So the Six Nations is England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, France, and Italy. Correct me if I'm wrong. And there was an advert, a commercial made many years ago that wasn't actually allowed to air, that had people from every country except England cheering the word England. So everyone's like, England, England, the French, the Italians, like us over in Wales, were like, yes, England. And the caption at the end was, it's not who you want to win. And it just left it at that, because it really is. It's such a huge part of our culture and that kind of camaraderie.
They are the big brother, aren't they? They are the big brother of them. So everyone wants to beat the big boys. And I think as a player, it's a bigger game because of the media that follow England around. And but as a player, there's none of that bitter rivalry at all, to be honest. It's you just want to beat everyone as much as you can.
Yeah, and I think that's inspiring. But just before I let you go, I want to go back to what you said about instinctual players, because the last player, like off the top of my head, I think we lost him.
Hang on, no, I'm back.
You back?
I am back. I did the thing. Yeah, I did that. I didn't have do not disturb my phone, so I had to do it on pretty quickly before someone rang me.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry.
Yeah. Or something, so don't worry.
Okay, jolly good. Yeah, so I'm thinking, off the top of my head, the sort of 1-2 names that really spring to mind: Lee Halfpenny, George North. And, obviously Shane Williams, like I remember him running once with the ball across the field, and every other player on the opposite team just stopped running because they were like, there's no way we're going to catch up. And that kind of instinct, that kind of natural proclivity for success within rugby, I mean, because I don't get to keep up with it like I used to. Out here I've got to get like 12 different TV packages and do all the sort of tech stuff I don't understand. I wait for the Six Nations, really, and for the other bigger matches that I can then stream, I think with like Paramount or someone. But the way that sort of the next generation of Welsh rugby players are being trained and being brought up, it does sound like it's far more regimented from what, like, compared to what I remember those guys describing when they were going through training. So that's a pretty quick shift.
Yeah, I think it's like anything. When it goes professional, you have academies, your mindset changes, because I've always worked throughout my career when I was professional, because I always regarded my sport as my hobby. So even when I was paid for it, I didn't really think about it because I was doing another job, parallel to it. Whereas now all these players, and when you get into the academies, the coaches want their I thought influence on them, I suppose. But I think what do you do? And I'm not knocking them, but I think that what you need to do is, obviously there's a structure, there's an environment and a culture that you create, and there's discipline and integrity and honesty and all this involved in sport. But you're a part of a team and you do what the team do. But what you can't do is kind of coach out the instinctiveness or the natural ability of those players that have got it. And I think that's what maybe we're ignoring at the moment, and is just the thing is that they're looking at, you have to be this, you got to fit this kind of size, you got to do this kind of practice, you got to eat this and that, and then you got to train, you got to bench this and bench that. And I think I look at the way defenses are going now, that defenses are dominating games, and we can't the only way you're going to break those defences down, because it's so organised, is the quick ball, which you need big ball carriers. I don't want to get too technical. Or people who can just step and beat people and get, it's a type of player where when you see him get the ball on the field, then instantly you raise up from your seat in the ground to watch him. And I think that's, we've got a couple now. Josh Adams is playing exceptionally well now. And then Reece Summit is a young kid on the wing, and he's a next superstar. So, those boys have got it. We need to give them, the ball in hand more. And to be honest, we haven't, because we're such a small nation, you can't afford to maybe just put someone in, you got to watch for the late developers. Because I know that I didn't play for Wales at any international level. Neither did Shane. Liam Williams, I'm not sure, was a late developer. So you need those players, instinctive players, to break down defences a little bit more now. So, that's hopefully there's a little genius of a Welsh kid going to break through very quickly.
Oh, well, I hope so too. I'm excited to watch and see who it's going to be. But just as we wrap up here, what else have you been doing? I know you've got your show with the BBC, so tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm filming now with Nigel Owens, the referee. Yeah, I've been working with him for 17 years. We've had different kind of female hosts with us, ranging from Ellery Shone, a Welsh broadcaster. Alex Jones was on
fantastic.
as well. And then we got Sarah Elgan, who's in television. And we've been working together for 17 years. They made a mistake. They called the show Jonathan. So they can't sack me, can they, really? Unless they change it to Nigel or Shane, the show. So then I know I'm on the way out then. But no, I do recruitment work as well for a company called Smart Solutions. And another thing I've done as well is I do the television. Is still I've got another 2-year contract with BBC doing league and union. Then that might be my last one in Navy. I'm not sure yet. I'm getting to an age where I'm thinking of retiring. And then I do a lot of a cancer hospital because I lost my first wife to cancer as well. So my dad died of cancer, my wife died of cancer. I had a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old at the time. And the hospital where she went and was treated was Velindre Cancer Hospital in Cardiff. And they asked me to become kind of a patron and a president. And again, it's the same thing in life or in business. You try and create an awareness, you try and create a culture. You have to have a lot of humility. So by doing that, in the last 13 years, I think I've been there, we've raised £35 million, which for someone in Wales is a huge amount. And I link Swansea and Cardiff now as well to so that people in Southwest Wales and East Wales will have good treatment on that M4 corridor, the motorway. But the way we've done it is just keeping the awareness up. And if you think, you mentioned Shane Williams is a patron ambassador. Sam Warburton, Welsh captain, is a patron ambassador. I've got Geraint Thomas, who won the Tour de France as ambassador. And also I've got Gareth Bale, a great footballer, as an ambassador. So the support we have and the awareness it generates is unbelievable. So we've done a few bike rides. The first one I did was Yosemite National Park to California Golden Gate Bridge. We did that.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. That's a long way.
I know. Then I did Boston to New York.
Bloody hell.
No, and then what am I doing? I'm doing Mallorca next year in April, and then we're doing a ride in Las Vegas next September.
Oh, well, I'll have to come out for the Las Vegas one.
You'll have to get over to Vegas. I think it might be about 160 Welsh people are doing it. Maybe, I'm not sure, 100. And it's brilliant. We have a great laugh. Everyone raises money to get there. I tell everyone, look, at the end of the day, the first can opens at 4:30. We all have a good swish. And people struggle differently in the morning after. But my usual breakfast is a Barocca, an anti-inflammatory coffee, banana, and then smelling salt. It's been a great journey, and I hopefully will continue and raise a lot more money than maybe pass the baton on then maybe sometime.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Well, I will definitely be signing up for the Vegas one. And yeah, I just came back from a weekend away with some English friends, and they all commented, they're just like, you can drink and hold it. And I was just like, well, I'm Welsh.
Yeah,
You know, not even a question. Like, I grew up on Wine Street. What do you expect?
madness.
But
It is, but it is. I suppose I think we're social animals. We come from an environment that, you know, we like to kind of meet people. You know, we're generally good company. We have good fun when we go out, and you know, I try and create that environment during you know, the bike rides, and people. It's been amazing because it's kind of a lifetime experience. You know, you tour with rugby clubs on it, and that's when I went on the first one of these, because, you know, you kind of you get hardened to you know, to death and to loss and everything. And then I remember you know, I didn't cry very often because, you know, I don't know why you don't do it publicly. And then when we'd finished, I remember we were all on Golden Gate, by the car park in Golden Gate Bridge, and then I remember I went up like quite high to look at the gate of the bridge, and then look at all the people that had done it, about 80 or 90 people, and we'd raised 400,000 that particular trip. And then I rang my mum, and then as soon as I heard my mum's voice, I started crying.
oh.
Yeah, and you think, you know, that's it. I realized how much it meant to me, and I hope my dad and my wife would appreciate what I've done, but also looking at the people down there who'd kind of raised the money to get there in memory of their sister, their mother, their brother, their father, and kind of hopefully raising money so one day we'll get victory over cancer, and we'll get a cure, or one, we know why it happens, and then two, get a cure for it. So but yeah, that's the next. I gotta get my ass on a bike now again. Get my bum ready for the bike and a couple of bike rides. So no, it's nice, you know, it's nice to give something back. I haven't done it on the coaching front in rugby yet. You could help me out with that in America.
I will be. Oh no, you've lit the fire now. Very inspiring. This has been, yeah.
But yeah, I give him something back to the, you know, to the hospital, which is nice. So it's been an interesting 13 years. I'm seeing people. Yeah, no, and even a lot of people on the bike that's done it with us, you know, they passed away in recent years, and it's you realize how kind of close to home it is for everyone.
Yeah, gosh, I don't know what to say. You're getting me all emotional here. It's not even a roller coaster. I'd say you have such a natural delivery and an ability to talk about incredibly moving, both, you know, sad, yet the inspiration that you've drawn from losing your father, from losing your wife. I mean, it's really beautiful. I was not expecting this from our conversation. I feel like very lucky to be able to have this conversation with you, and so glad to be able to share it with others, because I think it is something that touches everyone, every single person.
It will do, you know, 1 in 2 will get it now in the next few years. So, you know, everyone has been touched by it. It's a horrible disease, and you know, and there's so many charities out there. It's very difficult for all the charities, so competitive. But I've just hung my hat on the cancer peg with Valindre, and kind of create an environment where, although it's horrendous, you know, when you lose someone, you can hopefully enjoy the experience of going through pain to raise money for them. So, you know, we have a good laugh after. I do take the piss out of everyone.
Good. I should bloody well hope so. That's what, like, us Welsh are best at. You know,
Exactly.
That's how we show love. We're
Exactly.
yeah, we take the piss.
take a piss of everyone, and and like someone said, if you can't laugh at yourself, you've got a problem. If you can laugh at yourself, you're going to be in a good place, and I think that's important. And I think having all those kind of emotions, coming from the small village I came from, I think it made me the person I am today. With like, I love a bit of banter. But I tell my kids, it's humility, and I always tell them, look, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
Mm.
And through my sporting career, obviously you've got to be a little bit nasty sometimes and show a bit of aggression, but it's I think I haven't burnt any bridges through all the clubs that I've played for, and I've used it throughout my career on and off the field, my broadcasting, my sales career. So because life is all about people at the end of the day, all about people and how you get on with people.
Yeah. Bringing it full circle back to community. Gosh, it really is. It's funny. Like, I had a conversation with a friend this morning. After living in Los Angeles and then going to visit DC, spent some time in New York, these big cities. It's competition it's a very different culture out here. I think that's why I moved to the South. So maybe don't go visit San Diego. Come visit North Carolina. It's lovely. Okay. It's all community driven. Everyone here is incredibly friendly. Everyone gets along with everyone. Even out here in the South, it's even my mother said, as soon as I moved out here, my Welsh accent came back. But that's really what it is.
Life is competitive, isn't it? Then I thought we did another one a couple of years ago. I did San Francisco to LA, the Pacific Highway.
Oh yeah.
Cycle that. It was absolutely gorgeous. My God, unbelievable. Through Carmel and all those Pebble Beach. Oh my God, I wish I had my golf clubs on when I was going through there. And I think I've got to go back there it was absolutely beautiful part of the world. What a ride. It was a tough ride, but gorgeous. Right? I remember I cycled one of my best mates who just recovered from throat cancer, right? Serious throat cancer. And we are absolutely said, come on, let's ride the last 30 miles in together. And we absolutely caned it, right? Along Malibu, right? It was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And then after that, we went to an English pub in LA, typical there, and we played darts.
Was it the King's Head in Santa Monica, was it?
It could have been. It might have been, yeah. It might have been. I think it was. So in there, we had a good pint of Guinness and a game of darts.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's where I used to watch the Six Nations when I was still living in LA. There's a lot of Welshies in Los Angeles. I was surprised by how many Welshies there were in LA. And I met one up in Joshua Tree. She just like toddled into the pub afterwards. She's like, where are you from? And we're like, oh, Swansea. And she's just like, oh, me too. Been living out here for like 30 years or something. But it's, but we always end up back in Wales. That's the one thing I've noticed. We always end up back in Wales, some way, shape or form. But Oh, Jonathan, thank you so much. I'm going to put the links to Valindra and to anything else that I possibly can in the description. But let's continue the conversation. We're growing closer to the Six Nations, and we got to start getting Americans more informed on rugby. It's the greatest sport in the universe.
It's a sport we don't play with helmets and pads. Well, they play with pads now, but no helmets. And I think America with the sevens and that Olympic sevens, Olympic Games, and now with the league going, I think there's they've got an amazing amount of players to pick from. And then if it just kicks off, you look at soccer with the girls, with the ladies in America. Soccer, I think America has the potential. To become a very strong force in the world. How long it'll take, but the amount of people they got there with all the university kids, and if they can just promote rugby in a way where they want to make it attractive, then I'm sure America will be they will grow and be strong.
I think so too. Well, that's why we've got to get you out here. You're the most inspiring person in rugby, like hands down. I talked to a lot of, like I said, I was talking to a lot of my friends before we recorded this today, and even the English people were excited. So, you cross.
Well, there we are.
Building bridges.
played over there, played over the bridge. So it's amazing because they hated me when I was playing because I didn't play for their side. But that's brilliant because they get, if they boo you and insult you, they know that they're worried about your performance. So no, I don't get as many insults now, so it's not too bad.
Oh, fantastic. Well, please don't ever stop commentating. I mean, that would be, I'd be absolutely devastated,
We'll see what happens now. Six Nations next couple of years now. Nice 3 home games. It'll be very, very interesting. But we play Fiji Sunday, so let's get a result against Fiji first.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'll definitely be tuning into that. I didn't realize we were playing Fiji. So it's like what was that? Sorry?
On Sunday it is. So I'm not sure. It'll be, I think it's 3 o'clock our time. That'll be early for you, isn't it? What time is it with you now?
It's 1:45 in the afternoon. It is with me now. What time is it with you? 5:45.
Not too early, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the pub, immediately start drinking to watch the Six Nations when I was living in Los Angeles. That'd be
Long day that is.
Yeah, it was a lot. I would cycle from Venice up to Santa Monica, get very drunk, cycle back, which was, I don't think, legal, but whatever. There was no one around. This was before, like it's right in the low season. And then I'd sleep for a few more hours and then carry on celebrating. That was the sort of...
I think, was it a pub called the Village Idiot?
I have to ask about that. I haven't heard of it.
Appropriately, I went there, to be honest. So, good, very good swing that we did, yeah. So, no, we enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. We've enjoyed our excursions to the US of A. We have.
Yeah, it's a brilliant country. I think it gets a very bad rap in the rest of the world, but it's a very new country and there's a lot of great things here.
Yeah, there is, and I also think, you look at, I remember during lockdown, I watched, one of my sporting heroes is Michael Jordan. So I think he's absolutely an amazing player, So you watch the skills and his attitudes and, you had so many amazing sports like Tom Brady, for example. Gosh, it's like I grew up watching it. Then Joe Montana, Theismann, Marino. It's some of those mega stars and I know the golf. Of course, I met Tiger Woods. I met Tom Watson. I've met what else have I met? Met Jack Nicklaus. I've been very lucky in the golfing. I met a few of them. They've got some amazing athletes over there. Amazing.
Yeah, well, UFC is.
That's flying now.
I mean, it's out of this. I didn't think I would get into it, but I think I didn't get into American football because I was like, I like the go at it, like with rugby, once you get like a good play going, it's like your whole body is invested in what's going to happen next. And I think it's a similar thing with UFC, but it's funny. They say, was it rugby is a thug sport played by gentlemen? And I feel like UFC is going in a very similar direction. Like you see fighters like Strickland and Cowboy, like they're just nice boys, as we say in Wales. Always a nice boy,
when I started watching it, they've obviously retired now, but again, there's so many of them just turn up and fight, and then all these new superstars are kind of are made overnight, don't they? So it's very fast growing sport and it's a brutal sport. My God, it's
intense. Well, there's one guy whose name escapes me now again, because I don't even smoke pot anymore and it's just gone out my head like my dad's band. But he goes and plays, like he'll go and fight, and then in the rest of his life, he's a firefighter. And that's just what he does for, like, he goes and fights, kind of. I mean, what sort of jobs were you doing whilst you were also playing? Was that like...
I started off in school as a painter and decorator. That's why I left school. I left school at 16 years of age, no qualifications. And I just went, right, let's get out and into the world. And then what I did then, I just went I went up the ladder in the painting world. I became a contracts manager. And then I went into sales then. Basically, I got on with people. I went to sales, and when I went to rugby league, I was selling different kinds of stuff up in the north of England. I came back here, and then I went to television. I'm still in television. I do after dinner speaking and motivation speaking, and corporate events, and that's it. So it's, yeah, I think you got to adapt in life. I think I had no idea what I was going to do, and all of a sudden you adapt, and I'd never thought that I'd be doing what I'm doing now. Never thought that would happen. No
Well,
idea.
I'm glad that it has.
Yes.
And I think Wales is too.
I'm glad to hear that. Anyway, I'm glad to hear that. So, so it's it's nice. It's nice now. I think you got to life's going so fast, and like I said, I'm 60 next year, and I think with the kids, there's so many opportunities, but there's so much competition out there. Sometimes it was easier for us growing up, because there wasn't so much out there. But it's you just got to work hard. There's no magic formula, unless you're very lucky or something like that. But it's just work hard, really, and I think it's a time management and a balance. That's what you got to do. Time management and balance. Sometimes I overdo the socializing, playing golf. Come back from Portugal last week. I'm hoping to go to Barbados in the next couple of weeks, just to have a bit of a break. So, hey, you got to manage your time. Manage your time.
Time management is everything.
Work to live, not live to work.
Yes. And that's something I can't tell you the number of people that I grew up with who, they used to make fun of me when I said that I wanted to go and work in America. I only expected to be here for a couple of years. I just wanted to be able to hang out, do what I'm good at, which is put in words in order for other people. And that would be that. But, I've gotten to stay because I've never really done anything else. And I can't complain. I'm having a great time. I've been here for 3 different administrations now, and I'm still having a lovely time. Yeah. And lovely throughout all of them. But it's funny how many people used to sort of make fun of me, and now they sort of come at me and say, well, how did you do that? Yeah. How did you get to move out there? And I was just like, I just worked really hard. I just set that goal. But I think what you said about having the ability to adapt, it's not just in terms of practical adapting, to a new job, things like that, but it's setting that emotional adaptation, being able to sort of rationalize. My life right now is if you had told me 10 years ago, you're going to end up moving to North Carolina and, trying to get up and live in the mountains, I'd have been like, you what? Never in a million years would have thought it. But
you didn't even know where North Carolina was, did you?
No, well, I did do a geography degree. I've always been very good at maps. But no, I didn't have a clue. And it's, I think it's something that it's so valuable to young people these days. And I work with a lot of people who are younger than me, who are further ahead of me, I think, in our sort of similar lines of work. And whenever they ask me what I'm one of my friends called me this morning, she's just like, how do I deal with this situation? And I was just like, it's just not permanent. You just got to accept. My best friend gave me the best advice ever. He was like, eventually you just have to wake up in the morning and go, this is what I'm doing today, and appreciate all of the things that come as a result of it. You might not love the thing that you're doing. I'm lucky. I love all of the work that I do, but there've been many times when I haven't. And I tell you what, when I have been in those times where I haven't loved what I'm doing, it was rugby and being able to go to the pub with my friends and watch a match that always gave me that ultimate escapism. And not just because of the pints of Heineken and Stella and whatnot. So,
You got to talk, haven't you? You got to have talk. You got to have good friends around you and talk, and not be scared of talking. That's the main thing. There's a lot of, I think kids are under more pressure these days, and mental health issues is more out there, and anxiety and all this and that. And I think you have to have a coping mechanism or someone you can speak to. That's vitally important. I think it's because all my mates now are all getting to an age. It's one life. You got to live it. Life is not a rehearsal, and we all have a good crack and a laugh. And it's just a bit of perspective and balance. That's what you want.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, I'm so devastated. I've got to go and do my other job now. And again, I love my other job, but I'd rather just stay here and talk to you all day, Jonathan.
What is your other job?
So I write for two other news. I write for two news outlets. Oh gosh, sorry, my cats keep trying to come and join in the conversation here today. Go away, Wonky. So I write for an outlet called the National Pulse, which is run by an Englishman, who I have a lot of agreements with and a lot of disagreements with, mostly over Nigel Farage, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. And then I do videos and sort of translate my writing into video content for another outlet called the Daily Caller, which is a lot of fun. It's just, you know, I get to just make fun of people on the internet in like a kind of informative way, because it's interesting, kind of going back to what you said earlier. No, I think one of my sort of mantras is no one can make more fun of me than I can. And I think if you can kind of show up with that attitude, at least it served me very well. Stop it. Sorry, my cat is a nightmare. But I'll write for anyone who asks, really. I just love putting words in order and telling a real life story.
Out on social media as well. So because I'm gonna have I'm gonna have, before I go on the show now, I got a show in 45 minutes, and I'm gonna have a bowl of cowl.
Oh. Now I'm going to have to make cowl this weekend. What have you done?
A lamb stew with all the carrots and the veg in it, and it's gonna bit of nice and a bit of bread. No, job done.
That sounds perfect. Well, I'm going to spend the rest of my afternoon, once I'm done with my work, sourcing some decent lamb, because it's pretty hard to come by out here. And I mean, that's what we do, is lamb as the Welsh. Lambs and leeks. Leeks. You can't get leeks out here. I can't get a decent leek in 100 miles. But anyway, that's a whole other show. Jonathan Davies, thank you so much. This has been beautiful.